back to another episode of the Low Key in Alignment podcast. My name is Dana.
And I'm Alani.
And we're just so happy to be back with y'all, whether you're watching us on YouTube, whether you tuned in to wherever you stream your podcast. We're just so happy to be back with y'all.
Hey, y'all. I don't know if y'all watched the girl on TikTok who be eating the good chicken and stuff. But she be like, hey, y'all. So, how are y'all? We're so happy to have you guys back listening to us. It's been a little teeny break.
You know.
We got a lot of love on our previous episode, so I'm glad everybody's been enjoying that. We'll do a part 2 maybe soon, start new things if we try anything else. But
so yeah, let's check in. How you doing?
I'm great. I'm really good.
Okay.
I mean, life is good. Mm-hmm. I would definitely say, I don't know if any of our listeners or watchers, viewers are feeling it too, but it's definitely like a do or die time.
For sure.
I think the energy is a little thicker lately, and it's a little more, you got to be about your business and make some decisions and like make some changes, growth. Mm-hmm. I welcome it all. It is a different type of energy, and you know, every day has been kind of like an emotional ebb and flow. Yeah. But overall, of course, everything's always great. But it's good to just be honest about like how you're feeling. But today, for sure, mood is really up and good.
Yeah, and touching on like you said, like being about your business, do or die time, like we was talking about off camera before. You know, if you're into astrology, if you're not, just so you know, Virgo is currently in Mars, so it's time to be organized. It's time to be planning.
Yeah.
Get on your Zoom at 10.
So if you felt an energy like I need to organize my house, I need to get my finances in order, or you're somehow feeling like drawn to completing some type of a project that you've been procrastinating on, that is us being made of the same energy of the universe. We're all connected, and that influences you. So if you're feeling that, that's probably why. And also, Venus is about to go in retrograde, so all your relationships will be tested.
Okay.
And it'll, by the end of this Venus retrograde, you'll have a lot of clarity around what roles each of your relationships in your life are supposed to play, what your new goals in your relationship are, and what self-love you need for yourself, because it's Venus retrograde in Leo, so that's about self as well. Mm-hmm. And love of self and self-love.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of different things going on
in the planets right
in
now.
our astrological forecast. Yes. Okay, so dress warm. You know how they do the weather. Put your coats on, guys, because it's gonna get a little wet outside. Yeah. We're ready though. We're riding it. We're ready.
Get to the thick of it. Like you just ready, okay?
I'm freaking sick of it. So how have you been?
Girl, I've been doing really good lately. I feel like I have been going through the ebbs and flows emotionally. Just when I guess just taking a lot of time and like really reflecting about life and like the quality of life and like how I want my life to be.
Me too.
So really just trying to get a lot more organized with a lot of different things, you know, finances, traveling, day-to-day tasks, life, just everything in general.
Yep. And
I just feel like, it's been, I guess, a trying time in a sense of like just feeling different emotions and just trying to learn how to feel them and process through them and just how to move forward and like just move accordingly.
Yep.
But yeah, it's all
a part of life.
It is.
It's almost like nothing's wrong.
Yeah.
But it's like you want to be able to talk more openly about when things aren't just it's the best day of my life. There's nothing wrong, but it's like you're preoccupied and you're in this process of doing something. It's like training for something.
Exactly.
It's not, someone training for something doesn't always have a huge smile plastered across their face, even though they may be happy with what they're doing.
Yeah, like every day you don't want to get up and just go do it and just go for it. Sometimes
think so much. Yeah.
Like you just want to just exist.
Yep.
Not have to worry about anything, not have to think about anything. But overall, I've been doing really great. Feeling good, being very active, you know, just living life.
Awesome. And I'm really excited because I feel like for next year, right now I have a lot of things in the works that next year will come to complete fruition and a complete cycle of completion and unearth and like open up this new chapter that I feel like I've prepped 10 years to do.
Yeah.
And I'm just so excited about that. That brings me so much inner peace and happiness. I
love it.
So everything's coming, you guys. Like, y'all feel it, we feel it. life is good. Buckle up, hold on, and hopefully something that we talk about today resonates with you and can inspire you to start on something that you've been procrastinating about, or make that shift. Don't let fear run the show.
Exactly. Or even if it's just finishing something that you have already started, like just finding the motivation to really do it. It's like we said earlier, it's do it that time, y'all.
It is. Like, it's time to just do it, complete it, and figure out what that thing has to bring you to next.
Yeah, for sure.
So we had a few like themes come up. Sometimes we take from like what's going on in our environment and move it on there. But before we get there, we wanted to talk a little bit about finances and our relationship with money. And healing. We're both on a healing journey of healing our relationship with money.
Yes, and healing is not a pretty process. Like, it's an
not.
ugly process.
It sure is.
But it's worth it.
Just like if you have a scab. Exactly. Scabs are disgusting. Yeah. But then it like goes away, and then you might be left with a little scar. Like consumer debt, that's my scar. And I just been working on healing my relationship with money and understanding. I don't know if any of you, the listeners, can relate. I think it's pretty universal.
I was about to say, I don't think we have no Bill Gates listeners, so I'm sure there's something, even if it's not the same across the board, there's something with money that we can all be like, okay, let me tell you.
For sure. Like for me, I just saw money. I wasn't in control of my money.
Same.
Like money was coming in, but it's like I didn't want to look at my account. I didn't want to be accountable for my money. I didn't want to be responsible with my money. I didn't want anything to do with my money other than spending it. It was like, how fast can I get this money out of my account to spend on frivolous things?
Girl.
It's actually ridiculous.
Same.
I was being very irresponsible with my credit cards. And now I just have such a greater, better understanding of how I'm going to manage those things moving forward. And I am doing something right now to pay off my credit card debt. I mean, it's not like $25,000 or anything, but I'm just paying it off and just being smarter and a better steward over my money. And zero-based budgeting. And it's been so fun.
It really has,
awesome.
And it's funny because in a lot of ways, Alani and I parallel, and it's never like, oh girl, we should do this together.
Intentional,
or it's never like, oh, I think I want to do this. It's like, I should do it too. It's like we're both just kind of living our own lives, and then we just so happen to talk about it. And it's like, oh yeah,
I'm doing that.
Yeah, I'm doing that too. I'm just like Alani when it comes to being frivolous, or not frivolous. Whatever.
I'm frivolous, but you ain't frivolous. But be at Marshall's.
Come on. I'm telling you, reckless with the spending, did not care. My mindset was spend a check, get it right back, okay?
Yeah, like, mine too.
And just like not really budgeting and not really just planning with money. Just being like, oh, okay, I got money.
And not wanting to. And feeling like, oh, that's a waste of my time, or that's what boring people do. Or like, I think it comes with becoming a little more responsible and like more mature around money. Which I think that, this might be an assumption, but I do think that a lot of women struggle with that because of how we've been socialized. Girls just want to have fun and like we're marketed to. All the clothes, makeup. I feel like women are like some of the biggest consumers in this country.
Sure. Hair, makeup, nails.
Like thinking that you have to buy beauty. Don't get me started. You don't have to buy anything to be beautiful.
At all.
You don't need to purchase beauty, but they're selling it to us like it's something you can buy.
Exactly, and it's not. But so now I'm on a healing journey as well. I've been writing out budgets, and it just makes you happy, like to really shift your mindset and really focus on like trying to build a better life for yourself, right? And really just set yourself up for future success.
Definitely. And I'm no financial guru, but I mean, this is a podcast. I'm like, I'll go ahead and share a few things that I've done that were actually something I did. So before I knew I wanted a budget, I would just always like paper and pen, write something down. It just never conceptualized. It never came to life for me. So I watched videos on YouTube. That's my thing. Like, teach me something.
Exactly.
So I just started to look around, and I started to certain things came to just got revealed to me or got inspired for me to be like, okay, I want to pay off my consumer debt.
Yeah.
So then I looked up best ways to do that. And I saw like a balance transfer. So everyone can't do this, but this is just what I'm doing. So I got a credit card that has 0 interest rates for the first 15 months that you have the card. Mm-hmm. And you can do a balance transfer from one credit card to that card and then pay interest free on that balance on that new card and build your credit and like pay off your credit cards. So that's what I'm doing to pay my debt off. And then also I opened up a high yield savings account just so that I don't have money just sitting around, and I can be more intentional about consistently putting money in there, and then just doing my zero-based budgeting of making sure that every single dollar has a role.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest issue, especially for people like you and me. Like, because if there's money just sitting, it's like, wow, I got this money. So it almost turns into a reward system of like, wow, I've been able to have this money. Now let me go spend it.
And it's like, on what?
Yeah.
I was just spending my money on like things that are just expensive that I can't afford but don't necessarily need.
Yeah, like,
and not even material things like a nice bag. Like, I like stuff like that, but I won't spend my money on that.
Neither.
It's very strange. It's really really strange.
It is.
Mental illness. Like, I'm just gonna get a $60 DoorDash meal that's actually $15, but because
you and DoorDash,
the convenience to get it delivered to my house, it's ridiculous. Who do I think I am?
The Kardashians.
Getting something delivered. Like, I just love having something delivered to me, but healed.
Yeah.
Not doing that anymore. Like, you can go get the stuff. And cooking at home, too. And just being in more control. So we want to inspire everybody listening to actually open up your account, because sometimes you just don't want to see it. Yeah. And just review. Just look around and say, what can happen? You can change a lot in like a day.
Exactly. I know for me, what I did, once I got paid, I wrote down like how much I made, well, how much my check was, and then I went through and looked at all of my bills, wrote those down, and then I calculated what that was, like subtracted it from my total, and then put that away for saving. I mean, for bills. Mm-hmm. And then as far as savings go, I just took out what I needed for like personal expenses, moved that to the side, and then set aside however much that I want for savings. And now I'm in the process of trying to figure out like what type of savings account that I want to put mine into. I'm looking at the high yield savings that we were talking about. And then also another thing that helped me was I wrote down, made a grocery list. I'm very like type A with that type of stuff. I love a list, a mean list. But I wrote down what everything I need, and then I went through and wrote down the price of everything, and then I set a budget for each store I went to. It was like, and it felt good to stick to a budget or be under budget. Like,
it's rewarding.
It really is.
Yep. That's the same about doing the balance transfer, and like there's like a snowball method and the avalanche. Yeah. And for me, I'm doing the snowball because I've started with my lowest balance, but it already felt rewarding to make my first payment on it. Yeah. Whereas with the avalanche, you would start with the highest interest rate, which that one is supposed to be cheaper over time, but people don't do it.
About that.
Yeah, it's not as successful because it takes longer to pay it off. Mm-hmm. But with this one, it's like I paid on it and I feel instantly like good.
Yeah,
like, I can't wait to pay that off.
Yep, exactly. And that's what I did to like look at credit cards and any other bills and see like what it is, like what the balance is, and then start paying towards it and knowing and setting a goal to get stuff paid off.
Yeah. Like, good. It's honestly awareness.
It is.
Once you become aware of your financial situation, then you can start to like live in the truth of it and do what you have to do.
Yeah, and make changes. Because I was the type, okay, I'm gonna pay this minimum balance on this credit card.
Me too.
I got money on this card. Let me go swipe it real quick.
Yes.
And it's like you're just continuing the cycle, and go
ahead. I
was gonna say like you're not like you're only hurting yourself further.
Yeah. And another thing, I was using my credit cards wrong and not doing the simplest thing, which is paying off the balance every month. Girl. So now I don't use my cards because I'm in the process of paying them off, but I'm going to keep them after I pay them off. I'm going to use one or whatever and pay the balance every month.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no letting balances roll over and just paying minimum balance. That's what I did wrong.
Me too. And that was my issue. And I'm pretty sure a lot of us get into that mindset of thinking like, oh, we just got this free money. And it's not free money at all.
It ain't free money.
You have to, the bank is going to collect
We're
money.
funding America. The whole American financial wealth is built off debt.
Yeah.
Even with other countries. Like when they say they give these countries $1 billion, they're giving them credit.
Yeah.
And if they don't pay up, then the U.S., or maybe that's a part of the deal, you get their resources.
Yeah.
So that's how the United States stays on top, because they keep other countries in debt to them.
They're how many millions, billion, $1 trillion in debt themselves?
But they got 50 million, billion, trillion, gazillion in debt to the United States.
That's very true.
Okay, and we're in debt to the United States because, like, you really don't own anything. Even when you have a mortgage, you don't own it. If you stop making those mortgage payments, they'll be packing up my little podcast equipment and these here lights and this camera.
Take everything for collateral.
Gone.
Yes, and even when you pay off your mortgage and like, oh, I'm finished, debt free, blah blah blah, you still have to pay property tax on your home.
Yeah, like you're always gonna be paying something to somebody.
Exactly. And if you're not paying it, they're gonna put a lien on that house. And like, so it's like you were saying, we don't own anything but ourselves.
You own nothing. And that's a perfect transition into something else that we just wanted to talk about, which was overall boundaries. And just, it's been such a hot topic, buzzword lately this summer with the term boundaries and how people have, in my opinion, been misusing the term.
I agree for sure. And
you weaponizing it as a means to control, because there's a difference between the two.
Yeah, and a good story that kind of touches on that is everything. We're not familiar we don't know if y'all are familiar with what's been going on, but there was a thing with Jonah Hill and his ex-girlfriend, and he was sending her all these messages telling her, if you're going to be in a romantic relationship with me, then you can't do this. She was a professional surfer.
She's a professional surf instructor.
Okay, surf instructor. And you can't be going to the beach to do this. You can't be hanging out with these friends.
Yeah, he was like, you can't go to the beach with men.
Yeah.
You can't post yourself on Instagram in your bathing suit. You can't hang out with friends who you feel like, who he views as beneath her, or like checkered past.
Yeah.
It's delusional. But I first want to say, I do want to say that none of this is a judgment on Jonah.
Right.
Because if someone exposed messages that I sent someone in a time where I wasn't as developed as I am mentally, I would be embarrassed and everybody would be talking about me. We've all been there to where we have done and said things to people in text that we're in a relationship with that we would not be proud of. But what we're saying is that it's just not justified, and we feel like it's not right, and it's not a good example of boundaries, which is the whole debate that outsiders who've been led into this situation have been having.
Exactly. Yeah. So many people have been like, oh, well, he's clearly communicating how he feels, blah, blah, blah. Then you got people on the other side of the spectrum of, he knew she was a surf instructor when they got together, so like, why all of a sudden now? Me too. Because how are you about to sit here and tell this surf instructor that she can't do her job, essentially?
And that is crazy, and that is abuse. And whether it's intentional or not, that's emotional abuse, to get into a relationship with somebody and then try to change them. And manipulate them. And then
you can control them.
In the name of boundaries. It's not a boundary.
It's not.
Your boundaries.
Can you tell us what boundaries mean?
I sure can. I have it pulled up, guys. Boundaries, a line that marks the limits of an area, a dividing line, a community without class or political boundaries is an example. A limit of a subject or sphere of activity. So a boundary is like, an example I can use, it's like a fence. It's like a property line. And when you cross over that, then it's just a delineated, like, this is what is yours and this is what is mine. That's a boundary. And it's used abstractly and emotionally as personal boundaries, something you can't really see or feel.
Yes.
But they're yours.
Yes. And these are the lines that you do not allow people to cross.
Yep. And you don't enforce boundaries on people. You enforce boundaries on yourself. Because if you have a boundary and someone crosses it, that's on you to figure out how you're going to handle that. You're not out here giving people a set of rules and telling them what they have to do to be in your life.
Exactly.
And I think that's what people think boundaries are.
And it's like, that's what Jonah Hill is basically doing. This is my list. These are my requirements. And if you can't meet these requirements, then we cannot be in a romantic relationship.
And then it's very manipulative because people can say, well, then the girl can just leave. But that's not her responsibility because now she's being manipulated. If we're in love and we're in a relationship and now you have me on the line and then you hand me a list of things saying, I met you and I work at McDonald's and then now we're in love 6 months in and you give me a list and on the list say I can't work at McDonald's. I'm like, huh? Like, that's very emotionally manipulative and abusive.
It is. And I don't like that. But another example that always stuck to me with boundaries was actually one that I think you said your old therapist told you. Was boundaries are like when you're bowling and they put up those guardrails.
She sure did.
To keep your ball in the middle, to keep it in the lane.
Yep.
So yeah, anything outside of that is outside of your boundaries and what you can control.
Exactly. And you are in control of whether you stay around people who break your boundaries or not. And that's when it crosses over from control to boundary. Boundary says, this is my responsibility. Control says, this is your responsibility. And manipulation. And we don't want to operate in that place. If you feel like you have to control a person, that's very wounded energy and you need to heal.
And it can be very difficult to try to enforce your boundaries and really stick with your boundaries because it stems from childhood. And we talked about that earlier, but so much of it does stem from childhood and parents thinking basically they own children.
For sure. That's what we were talking about earlier. We had a little meeting, had a little breakfast before we filmed, and I was thinking about parents, and I was thinking about my own personal experience with boundaries, and like my parents didn't really teach me boundaries. Love them to death. It's not a criticism on them, but they didn't because, and a lot of people's parents probably didn't, because you live in this household where it's what I say goes. And I'm telling you what to do and there is no. Because in boundaries, and I was telling Dana, I had to strengthen my no. As I became an adult, I didn't really know how to say no because that wasn't allowed in my house to make choices for myself. You did what you were told to do. So then boundaries, our parents, I would say, and I was saying this earlier too, that boundaries, a lot of people like to talk about it in the realm of relationships, romantic relationships, but where they really come out is in relationships between parents and children. Because your parents raise you up from the time you're a baby when you had no say-so, and then now you're an adult and you do have that say-so, and it can be such a hard adjustment for them to accept that you can tell them no or that you can do something against what they want you to do.
And I think also it can be a lot because I feel like I can't say of course, but in a lot of situations your parents are coming from a place of love thinking they know best for you, but once you are an adult, you have gone through your own maturation process. You'll know what's best for you. If you've done the work and really taken the time to learn yourself as a person, then you can say, I know what's best for Dana. So your parents, they aren't there day to day. They're not taking care of you. You're taking care of yourself. And you just have to really stand in that.
And I want to say to the parents out there, just understand for me, and it's all rooted in non-attachment, to understand that we don't own anything, including people. You don't own your children. This is my belief. You don't own your children. You don't own anything in this life but your own soul. And trust that your child, it's your job to rear them and guide them while they still don't know better. But they own themselves. They are born with their own innate intuition. Everything that they need to be successful in life, they're born with. Their soul is just as divine as anyone else's, and you can rear them, but then after they get grown, they have their own mind and their own connection to source and their own intuition to guide their choices, and they don't really need you to tell them what to do.
And I feel like parents don't know how to detach from their child no longer needing them. Like, even I think an example is like you can compare it to when a child is learning to walk and the parent is right there like, oh, you can't fall. But it's like falling is natural. Like, we're all gonna fall in life. Like, we're all gonna experience something.
Yep. And you can't save them or shield them from it.
Yeah, and like, once you're an adult, you can't rely on your parents for everything anymore.
And then for the kids who do that, it's so stifling to their growth. And they're not able to make a decision without calling their parents first. You want your children to grow up to be independent and have their own mind and source.
Yeah. And then for adults, like, the person who's the child in that situation, it's important to like just stand firm in the boundaries and to know that you're making the best decisions for yourself, and to not, I think another thing too is with enforcing the boundaries, not being afraid or fearful of any repercussions with your parents or whatever.
True.
Not feeling like you're gonna disrespect them or disappoint them, but you're doing what's best for you.
And you have to be willing to do that, because any decision made out of fear may not be the best decision. So it's like you have to let go of that fear. Some people, after you invoke certain boundaries, which for me is just your no, they aren't going to respond to it, and your relationship with them will change.
Absolutely.
Because the people who don't like that you have boundaries benefit from the fact that you had none.
Exactly.
So once you get some, they're like, huh?
Wait, what? Where did this come from?
They're not used to that. They're used to yes, yes, yes. Like when I first met Dana, like it was different. You was out here really helping folks out, okay? And it's okay to have a helpful heart, but it's like, you know, those things of just saying yes all the time. And I know I used to be that way too, especially in friendships. Like I would always, no one ever heard no from me.
That was me.
Even when I wanted to say no.
That was me.
And that's where I had to heal. I had to be like,
because when the word no,
no, my favorite word.
Everybody.
No is really my favorite word.
You.
No.
Yeah.
No. I want to strengthen it even more.
Me too. Like what more can I say no to?
No. I just don't want to do that.
I'm telling you.
And I heard this, I was watching this other podcast, and rip Miss Jackie O. We're so sad about that. So rest in peace to her. And oh my gosh, this is awful. But they were telling stories about her, and I loved one of the things they said about her. And they were like, she had great boundaries, strong boundaries. And B. Simone was like, that Jackie was like, I just don't want to go, B. And I love that. Like she's like, I'm not coming. Like just invite her to something she don't want to go. She just say she don't want to. And I feel like we have to be comfortable to tell that to our family, our friends. Like if you don't want to do something, just say you don't want to do it.
And for the people on the receiving end of no, you can't take that personal. Like it has nothing to do with you. It's about the person whose boundary it is.
Yep, that's true.
And
it's not.
You just got to remember that. Like
it's not a personal attack on you.
Yeah, I was about to say, read the 4 agreements, y'all. I feel like we done already told y'all about it, but don't take anything personal.
It's hard.
It's very hard.
Because your personal feelings are all entwined, and you're like, oh, how dare you not want to be around me? But it's not about that. It's not. Like, we just have to take ourselves out of it and know we don't own anything. You don't own this person's time. You're not entitled to their attention and things. And it's just going back to the Jonah Hill thing. Like, you're not entitled to live your life according to somebody else's standards.
Sure.
And we should be spending more time and more thought coupling with people who align with what we want and our values and boundaries. But the issue is, because so much trauma is running the show, your trauma is picking your partners. So you're not even picking someone, you're picking the direct opposite of your boundary, so that you can prove something to yourself on a psychological level. He doesn't want women posting themselves in their bathing suits, so you date a surf instructor. That is like so cognitive dissonance. Like that does not match. So make sure, you can only date from that healed perspective. When you're a wounded person out coupling and making friends, sometimes you meet exactly what you don't want, so that on a psychological level you can do it again the right way, and it never works out like that. No, for example, I gotta plug this. For example, you had a withdrawn parent who was just never reachable. You grow up, then now you date withdrawn people who are never reachable in an effort to do it the right way this time and make them love you, make them reach you. It doesn't work that way.
I had a parent. Well, I'm not speaking about me specifically. I'm talking about the example. Like I have a parent who could not show up for me emotionally. So now I'm gonna pick a partner who can't show up for me emotionally. but I'm gonna try to do things to manipulate the situation so that they can show up for me emotionally. And it's
Yep.
like that's not how that
so
works.
that my mind can say I did it right. And it's like, no,
that's not how that works.
you
y'all.
gotta heal and believe that you deserve what you didn't get in childhood or whatever, and give it to yourself. And then you go out into the world and you get what you really want.
And we could sit here all day talking about trauma, childhood trauma, and trauma.
Take your time.
I be trying, child. Trauma from your childhood is deeply rooted, and it rears its ugly head in every part of your life.
Come on,
everything.
And that I can't even. That would just take too long to get into it. But it's just like you have to get in your body, y'all. Mm-hmm. I've just been learning about that through like kind of learning a little bit about quantum healing, and everybody is so outside of their body, us included. And the more you shine light on your shadow self, the more light expands, and the more you get in your body. You have to face and solve your issues and learn how to live with them instead of always trying to kill it and silence it. You need to learn the darkest parts of yourself and then find a way to live with it. Because if you are naturally jealous, you need to know that about yourself instead of always pretending you're not jealous.
Trying to stifle that side of you.
Learn how to live with it.
Okay. Because I was just about to say, what is us being outside of our body? So,
outside of your body means that's a good one. Being outside your body is when something painful comes up and you ignore it. You stuff it down because you don't want to feel it. You're not fully in your body. So being outside your body, some things that you can do are all of our vices. Getting drunk, smoking weed, doing drugs is getting out of your body because it's disconnecting the spirit from your physical body so that you don't have to feel. Emotions are very physical and tied into your physiological makeup. And we are not comfortable in that space of like that homeostasis between the spirit and the body, which is why mankind have always been attracted to like psychedelics and drugs anyways, because it separates you from your body. You don't have to feel that pain for that time. That makes a lot of sense. But when you learn how to be in your body, then you heal. That's where the healing starts, because now it's hand in hand together, your spirit and your body healing. And there are like healers, quantum healers, and also Reiki healing, which is it's supposed to be like a more like light version of quantum healing, and it's all just based on physics. Like in pulling that negative things, pulling you into your body so that you can feel stuff and get through it. It's the only way is through it. And I feel like a lot of people, and I'm definitely guilty of this before, like you try to ignore and stifle any feelings that you have or any emotions, and it does you no good. It doesn't. And lately, I can say that I've been intentionally feeling so that I can be in my body and feel those true benefits. And it is helpful. Is it more painful in the moment? Absolutely. Yes. But it doesn't last as long. That's what I've noticed. Like for me, in a time where that's coming up for me, my feeling is about 2 hours. That's my range of like peak discomfort to back to baseline is a 2 hour time span. In the past, when I held in things like anger, that's months, that's years. I feel it only a little bit a day, but it's chronic.
Until it builds up, and now you've blown up on people.
It never goes away. But when I do it this way, I feel like I'm healing, I'm feeling it, and it dissipates. Like everything does. Stop being afraid of your grief, stop being afraid of your fears, of anger. I could really, we done went someplace in this episode, and I'm like, now I'm ready to go there. Like, we're just here now. But for me, I would say, because this is just a vulnerable podcast, like we're telling real stories, and we're just going to tell you the real.
Because I can definitely tap into like when I really felt them deep emotions.
We're going to tap in. One for me is anger. Anger is an emotion that once I reached a certain age, I stopped allowing myself to feel, because maybe I was afraid of it. I don't know why. Stopped feeling it, was out of my body with anger. Every time that I would get intoxicated, I would be angry. Every time, every single time.
We're not even gonna talk about that.
Yeah, every time.
Yeah.
And that was because I was out of my body.
Mm-hmm.
And so once I'm out of my body, I allow myself to feel that because, I'm avoiding feeling it in my body. Mm-hmm. Now, like, I really don't drink anymore. And when I get angry now,
you sober.
Baby, I'm angry. I was texting you the other night.
Girl,
I'm angry. Like I'm always alone. Like I haven't really got angry with somebody yet, but I was angry. I'm cussing by myself. I'm feeling it. I'm just letting myself feel
me every emotion.
Angry. I'm letting myself feel angry. And then I go through the process and I'm like, well, what's the root of this anger? Yeah. And it's always fear for me. It's a fear response. It's a fight or flight response. Mm-hmm. And then I'm fear. I feel fear. What am I afraid of? Then I unpack what I'm afraid of. And then I'm like, then I'm just able to like process that I'm afraid of that, make peace with it, observe it. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting on the bank of the river observing my emotions.
On the dock of the bank.
Come on, instead of just being them. Yeah. You don't have to be an angry person just because you feel anger. Mm-hmm. Your emotions aren't who you are. They don't have to define you. And that's what I feel like I've learned.
And having emotions is not bad. That is a human experience. And when you don't allow yourself to feel these emotions, you're cheating yourself out of a human experience that we're all entitled to.
Word.
I can say for me, the two emotions. Well, one, I ain't never scared to feel angry now. You know.
I know.
When I'm angry, I'm gonna be mad.
I know.
I'm gonna be mad.
I want to say it, but it's a business name. But you know what I'm talking about.
What do you mean?
They can hear us.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I'm so mad that they ride past folks' businesses.
But how have you processed like feeling your emotions?
I really just take the time to, one, I let myself just feel the anger and I play what it is in my mind or just think about like what it is.
And since anger isn't what you struggle with, what are some other emotions that you allow yourself to feel that you wouldn't ordinarily?
I would say the biggest one is feeling sad, honestly. Honestly, just like feeling sad. The past, Dana would just feel sad and be like, oh, okay, or like not want to talk about it or not want to really allow myself to feel it, just kind of try to brush it off or stuff it down.
Yep.
No, Dana, heal Dana. Probably 2019 was the first time I really felt sad and like allowed myself to just sit in that sadness.
Yeah.
And that was when I got fired.
Damn. I never have issues feeling sad.
Do you?
You know me, I like to wallow sometimes. True. I used to. Yeah. I don't do it as much anymore, but Scorpio,
girl. And see, I don't know, for me, because when I'm sad, I'm gonna cry. And I didn't like crying, or I didn't like people knowing I would cry.
Yeah.
And it just, to me, it feels like it was just rooted in a lack of self-confidence. And so now, and feeling like vulnerability was a weakness, honestly. Yeah. That's what it was rooted in for me.
Yep.
And then I went to therapy, talked about a few things, talked about a few people, really learned myself, and just allowed myself to really feel sad. Like, no, you can feel sad. Like, it doesn't matter how anybody else feels about you feeling sad.
Yeah.
One, and allowing myself to cry and finding freedom and power and strength in those tears.
Come on.
Instead of feeling weak and feeling vulnerable.
Yeah. You know? Yep. And I know, like, when we first met, that was a big piece of our friendship. Like, I used to be like, how you feel about this? How you feel about that? You be like, everything was just very, like, neutral. Like, no real feeling either way. And I just used to pull and pull and pull until I got an answer. And then we would just, like, that just, like, was a part of our deeper conversations where you would, like, I don't know, open up and start to break down.
And that's something that's been since childhood for me. Like, something would happen, I would cry, and both my parents would be like, what's wrong with you? Nothing. And they'd be like, it ain't nothing. Like, you sitting here crying, like, it's clearly for a reason. And I just did not like vocalizing what made me upset or why, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's just interesting. And I think the first time I really vocalized it and like talked about it was when I was in college, and like there was an incident that happened with my mom. Oh, not with my mom, but an incident happened, and then I called my mom, told her all about the incident, and she's like, "Well, I'm very proud of you because you're actually like expressing how you truly feel about something." And I was like, "I am, like
that's amazing that you came from that, because now I feel like you like it's flowing like a river. Like I'm like, oh, you weren't telling people what you felt.
I wasn't, and I don't know why. Like just wanting to hold those emotions close to myself.
Yeah, feeling vulnerable, like you said. Like a lot of people don't like to be vulnerable. I know I didn't, but it was once I learned how to be vulnerable with myself. Then you could be vulnerable with others.
Yeah, and I feel like it took a lot of that for me as well. Yeah, because like family, they knew I was gonna cry. Dana was gonna cry. Like, and I was okay with doing that with like my parents and my siblings. I guess just the act of crying, because to me it was almost like involuntary. Yeah, it was gonna happen.
Your body.
Yeah, and so really being able to vocalize what's wrong, why I'm feeling sad, and really even finding strength in talking about it. Like what makes me sad. Like I remember one time when I was crying about something and I told you about it.
I know what you're talking about.
So that like to even do that, and for you to even be like, oh wow, like I didn't know you felt that way about it.
Yeah, like were we not both crying on my couch that day? Or you just busted out? Oh, I'm thinking about the time we was on my couch at my Kennesaw apartment. I just remember we was like, you just started crying.
I do remember.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And you're like, y'all, you don't always have to be the strong friend.
No.
The strong friend needs to release.
Yeah. I'm still working on, like, I had a period of time for many years. I'm not really a crier. I used to cry when I was younger, but it's very hard for me to cry these days. Really? It just is, and I be wanting to sometimes, but it's just something that I feel like my body just doesn't do it. Like it just, unless I'm like watching a movie and it's got me choked up, I'll cry. Or a TV show, but don't have I'm sad.
At them Instagram reels you be sending me now.
I be crying at the reels. What reels?
Would it be like the old people talking about their greatest love?
Oh yeah, that's touching. I will cry tears of joy before I cry tears of sadness.
Oh really?
Yeah, like at a wedding. Weddings make me cry.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, like I love that type of. It's anything that's touching, touch my little heart. I'll cry, shed a tear. But sad tears, like I'm having a sad day, I'm gonna cry. I just don't do that,
girl. I'm gonna cry when I'm happy, sad, angry. It don't matter. Like it's just like it's an immediate response from me.
And people would probably think that I'm like a crier, but I just don't do really that. I don't be crying.
I still feel like I remember the first time you cried in front of me. I'm like, oh my god.
I don't even remember what I was crying. Oh, I was crying. I wanted a new job.
No, before that.
What was it?
What was that Cheesecake Factory?
What I was crying about? Oh, see, I love my family. I'll cry about them. Yeah. It's too much. My family? They're good. Then I'm instant.
Me too. When it comes to my family, I just love my family so much. It's just going off on a tangent. Hey, y'all, I love y'all. Right. My siblings, I love them so much. Like, those are my first best friends. Like, we grew up together.
Come on.
Now we've all grown, have all these separate lives. They've produced me all these beautiful nieces and nephews. I could just cry just thinking about that.
I could cry thinking about my love for my family. Yeah. Like, I just love them so fiercely. But even then, it's not sad.
No.
Like, just happy. Like, so I have an inconvenience and cry. It's just not going to happen.
Oh, that's me.
I just can't.
That's me.
I wish I could.
I almost cried yesterday.
Why?
I had to say about that offline.
Oh, my God.
But yes, y'all, don't be afraid to cry. Shed a few tears.
And don't be afraid to feel your emotions. Let your children feel their emotions. Yeah. Let people be who they are. Don't try to control people and call it boundaries. Mm-hmm. Know about your boundaries. Get clear about what they are. And then when it happens, you still don't have to be like, you're cut off. You violated my boundary. Just communicate it and see what they do.
Exactly. You can always just, like, you have to teach people your boundaries.
Yeah.
Like, you don't come with a manual and they can just say, hey, she doesn't like when you talk to her like this, so don't talk to her like this.
Yeah, it's just like they'll learn. And if someone really loves you and wants to be a part of your life, they will adjust. If they can't, then maybe y'all aren't meant to be.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. Everybody wants to just be meant to be with people. It's like you can't force that. Like,
and that's any relationship.
Any friendship, relationship, like it seem good, sound good on paper, but it may not be good.
Exactly.
So we just really
we just
gave it to y'all and just came and just opened up and just, we hope that you guys feel what we're feeling right now, and you can reflect on your own emotions and more about how to get into your body. I might share on my Instagram stories. Right. I'm really interested in it.
How are you feeling now, like after talking about all this? Like what emotion or feeling do you have?
I feel excitement.
Okay.
I feel joy. Mm-hmm. I feel confident.
Okay.
Because vulnerability makes me feel confident.
Yes.
So like I feel like I don't have to be scared to share certain things because I'm proud in it and I stand on it and I have nothing to be ashamed of.
I agree.
How do you feel?
My heart just feels so full. Like I'm just so happy.
This is what I be dealing with, y'all.
It is.
Oh, no. This is too much.
But yeah, like I just feel so happy. And confident is a good word to describe it as well. And I just love that we're just sharing this information and like really empowering other people to like really feel their emotion that's happening.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's who you are. Yeah. We are not robots. We're not even, and some people are more stoic than others, but they feel things too in their own way. Mm-hmm. But everyone can stand to open up a little more, be more vulnerable, be more true. Mm-hmm. I'm always challenging myself to open up more, open up further, let go of fear. Yeah. And one last tidbit, every day lately, because lately in this season I feel like I've been more fearful and anxious than usual, but lately to kind of combat that, in the mornings I'll ask myself, what are you going to choose today? Love or fear? Okay. Because they can't
coexist.
They don't vibrate at the same frequency. You have to choose between one or the other. And so every morning I make that choice. I ask myself that question.
That's good.
And love, you can't go wrong with love, so I lean into that.
And that's something I'm big on that when it comes to, like you said, feeling a certain way. I'm very big on that because I'm like, it's all a choice. Yep. Like that's what I constantly remind myself. Like I'm either going to sit here and choose to just be mad, stewed, angry, sad, whatever, and feel despair.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to choose to do what I can and make myself feel better.
Yep.
Like I just can't sit in that.
And it doesn't last forever. If it's lasting, I promise you're making it last. And we are going to have an episode on mental health, so hold your horses. And we really want to go in deep and share even more, be even more vulnerable, because we're just super proud.
Yeah, and mental health is something I am passionate about.
Both of us. And we love you guys. We're sending you love and light, hope, happiness, joy. We want you to feel every emotion this week. When you listen to this, there is no such thing as a bad feeling, and we want you guys to feel it. And just leave us in the comments how you're feeling when you listen to the episode.
You read my mind. I was gonna tell them to do that, girl.
Twin flame. So we want you guys to do that. Also, let us know some of your boundaries. Maybe I'll steal a few. Right. What do you do to strengthen your no? And if you need a little help strengthening it, let us know, because I'm still working on that as well.
Yes. And we are always happy to empower y'all.
Always. Your no. Always. So thank you for listening to us.
Make sure that you like, comment, share, subscribe. And this has been yet another episode of
Low Key in Alignment. Bye. I should have lied. I should have cheated. And that's on camera. That is.